Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to use a Beadsmith thingamajig, which is a wire wrapping jig, and this is the beginner kit that we sell. And in the kit, you'll find everything you need to start working with this type of tool. So this is the actual wire jig. It's got little holes in it. And then it comes with an assortment of little plastic pegs that you fit into the holes. It also comes with 3 different colors of craft wire. And then it comes with an instruction sheet and a little set of templates that you can use to get started with. And the other tools that you'll need are a pair of flush cutters, a pair of nylon jaw chain nose pliers, and it can be handy to also have a pair of round nose pliers. So to start, I'm going to show you just how to follow one of these templates that's here. It's a really good way to practice, and then you can go from there, changing the size of your pegs and the types and sizes of wire that you're using to kind of come up with your own fun designs for components that you want to make. So to follow one of these templates, you just start by putting the jig over the template and lining up the black dots with the holes in the jig. And then you take the little straight pegs, the ones that are even on both sides, and you put one in each hole over the dark dot. And then you take a piece of wire when you're using flush cutters, there's the flat side of the flush cutters and then the angled side of the flush cutters. The flat side is going to leave what you cut a nice blunt end. The other side will leave it kind of sharp and pointy, so it's a good idea when you're cutting off a spool or a roll of wire to always use the flat side against the spool so that it's not sharp when you're having it laying around. The first step to use when you're working with a wire jig is to make a loop on the end to start around your peg. So just pinch the end of the wire with a pair of round nose pliers and wrap around and move the pliers over and keep wrapping until you have a circle. Then you're going to take that loop and hang on to that. The next thing you want to do is straighten out the wire. You do that by running it through the jaws of a pair of nylon jaw pliers and just run it through a few times to straighten out any bends or kinks. Okay, then you can go ahead and move your jig off of the instructions. It shows you in the templates that they have, it shows you the order and the direction in which to go. So when you're following a template, you can use that for reference. Otherwise, you can kind of experiment and play around and move them whichever way you want around there. So you'll place your loop over the peg that's you want to use first, and then you're just going to run through the order in the template and just holding it down so it doesn't pop up off the pegs, you just wrap it around. And you want to kind of pull it a little further past than you need to so that it keeps its shape when you let go. You don't want the tension of it being around the peg to be holding it in place that much. You'd rather have it wrap on its own than all the way to that direction. So once you have it wrapped around your last peg, go ahead and wrap it around to form a loop. And then pull it off the pegs. And you see it is pretty three-dimensional at that point. We're going to flatten it in just a moment. First, you're going to go ahead and trim it with the flush cutters. And you want the flat side of the flush cutters to line up with the edge of the loop that you're going to have that sit right inside. Then take your nylon jaw pliers and push your loop flat. And you're also going to go through the rest of the piece and just squeeze it with the nylon jaw pliers and it will flatten out. And if you're using a really fine gauge wire, like the one that comes with this kit, it will move around and you can just move it back to get it back into the shape you want. So that would be, for this template, that would be the result. And I've also pulled a little piece of 20 gauge wire because I want to show you it can be a little bit easier to work with something that's a little bit thicker and it doesn't bend out of shape so easily. So you can make up whatever pattern you want with the different pegs. And you can use the different size pegs. The larger pegs are going to give you a larger loop. So if you use 3 of the little pegs and then 1 large peg, it's going to give you a different kind of shape. And you'll start again with a loop that you'll use to hook onto the first peg. And straighten the piece of wire. You can do a lot of experimenting with this. If you have something in mind that you know you want to make, then you can kind of play around with how you place the pegs and the order in which you wrap the wire in order to achieve exactly the look that you're hoping for. I'm just kind of playing around, so I'm happy to see what my results will be. So you can just wrap it around. And go around that way. It's also sometimes if you're doing a lot of wrapping over the same place, it's helpful if you can flip the wire over if it's a symmetrical design halfway through so that your design lays flat on both sides as opposed to getting really tall off the front. But you can see that the heavier gauge wire really holds its shape a little bit better. So even just by playing around with the different configurations that you can come up with and trying it out, you can find some really interesting shapes and turn them into components. So you could use that as a connector, or you could hang a dangle from it. You can kind of let your imagination run wild. It's a really good creative tool, the wire jig, because it takes something that you want to do in your design elements, which would be wrapping all this wire, and it makes it really easy to do a nice, clean, even job. So it lets you kind of make whatever you want, but make it look better without taking quite so much time. And that is how you use a thingamajig.